What's up, everybody? My name's Charlie Savage, and today I'm here with my co-host, as always, Ethan Odenthal. And today we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly for Star Wars: The Sequel Trilogy. So, Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi. I put those out of order because I'm an idiot.
Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. It's
Eh.
okay. They're all way too close to the original trilogy names, and we should have known when that happened. Oh man. Let's go ahead and get into this. I feel like today is gonna be I'm gonna be a little bit heated because well, your boy Ethan is an opinionated person. So
Shocker.
how you been, Charlie? It's been 3 weeks since we did our last episode.
I
How you been?
know. We had to miss last week because you're a real adult and you do real adult things like pay your taxes. I'm out here committing tax fraud like a degenerate.
I haven't paid my taxes yet either, so there we go.
Oh no.
Oh man.
They messed up my W-2, so I actually had to wait to do my taxes.
Yeah, I'm about to. Oh man, my life's been so messed up because I just got in a second accident since we started this podcast. We're on episode 6. So I'm saying about every 3 podcasts, I'm gonna get hit by a car. So
Which means like every like 6 weeks.
yeah, so catch me for episode 9 when I'm in the hospital.
Watch
So
something's
anyways,
actually gonna happen. I'm
I
in the
would be so
hospital.
pissed. I'd be so pissed.
But
Let's get into the news. It's not too much, Charlie. We'll let you cover it and we'll kind of go back and forth because some of it's actually pretty fun.
yeah. So we're gonna start off with something real light. Dark Troopers are coming to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which is, fun. I actually play that game, so I cared enough to throw that in. That will actually make Moff Gideon's lead like not entirely dookie because he's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, that's so cool. I haven't played Galaxy of Heroes since college, but man, they add so much cool Star Wars stuff in that game.
Yeah,
if
I've
you
stopped
haven't
playing for like a
played-
month to save my time, like actually do school. I just kept playing it over break.
Yeah, if you haven't played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, please go check it out. It's really cool. There's a lot of cool content there. This isn't even this is like a shameless plug. Like I think you honestly enjoy it if you're watching our show, but
Yeah, it's if you like JRPG combat and action turn-based combat, that's like exactly what it is. Like an active time battle system, so it's like perfect.
it's so cool. All right.
It just gets way too in depth with how many buffs, debuffs, and there's like mods, and you're like, why is there so much to this game?
Yeah, it's a old game.
Yeah, and I'm like, I
So-
just like hitting the buttons like a JRPG. But yeah.
Oh man.
Then also this month, the Alphabet Squadron Trilogy just finished up. I need to catch up on that. I really love the first book. I would definitely recommend it. If you don't know, it's just about it's post episode 6. It's about pilots. One of the main pilots that's in it, like one of the main characters, she's a defect from the Empire, and basically there's a whole line of them just like not trusting her and her getting a bunch of respect. But all the characters have their own arc, and it's really cool. Would definitely recommend.
I need to look into it, but I'm a person like for books and stuff. I usually wait for the whole series to come out before I
Yeah.
read it, unless it's for like we did with Light of the Jedi. Like
Where
I'm
it's
gonna
like
read it 'cause
something
we
new.
gotta talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But much more exciting. Bad Batch finally gave us our premiere date, and
Which, like-
obviously we're looking on our national holiday of May the 4th. So I said, "May the 4th be with you,
With you.
children." Watch this badass show about these badass clone troopers. So very excited. If you don't know about Bad Batch, okay,
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. They were basically an arc of these very unique clones who are all kind of are they genetically modified to all be
Yeah.
special or
Yeah, they're all genetically modified to have like one special skill. Really, so they're named after their clone troop 99. They're named after number 99, the clone that gave his life to save his brothers, who was unique. He was a defected clone. So, and now Echo's with them post the Clone Wars. Sorry for spoiling that, but he's going to be in the show. So if you haven't
Yeah.
seen seven of Clone Wars, go watch it.
Yeah, please go watch the Clone Wars before you watch this. I don't think it'll be necessary. Just kind of like I think to watch The Mandalorian, you didn't need to watch the movies or anything like that.
Or
but
Clone
I
Wars,
think-
or like
I think you'll have a lot more appreciation for it. I definitely
Yeah.
am going to go back and watch it. Speaking of The Mandalorian, War of the Bounty Hunters, that was just announced. Boba Fett will have his own comic series. And if I'm correct, this is kind of going off of um, what just happened at the end. No spoilers. The end of the last season of The Mandalorian, right? Or is this
Um,
pre that?
I'm not entirely sure because I'm a dummy and I can't read. Oh wait,
Okay,
shoot.
okay. This is where we're getting. I can't. This is the problem with Star Wars content and making Star Wars content is their verbiage is so confusing sometimes. So I'll just read you directly from this article off of StarWars.com.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So it's going to come out. It's going to start in June, and it will be a spin out into Marvel's entire post Star Wars Strikes Back line, including Star Wars, Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, and Dr. Aphra. So it's looking like
Okay, so
it's
after
right
episode
after The
5.
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay,
So I lied. It's after episode 5.
there you go.
Ignore me.
Yeah, you were confusing it for Book of Boba Fett because there's all the Boba Fett stuff finally happening.
I know it's getting confused. It's a good problem to have, right?
It is.
Okay, so then we have, oh gosh, you guys have been waiting for this one. Star Wars Hunters, made by the illustrious devs of Farmville, Zynga. So check
Farmville
that out.
2.
It'll be Farmville 2, a galaxy far, far away.
No,
if it's
but
good, I will. If it's good, I will eat my shoe. Until then,
I refuse because I have no idea what their management is like. I have literally no idea what they've done since
they make
I was
poker
like in
and
middle
Farmville. That's all I know. So
I mean, I love poker, so I mean, you got a 50-50 shot there. Farmville wasn't even half bad. They just made
Farmville's
up 50 other things that were like Farmville, and they made Cityville, and you're like, why does this exist?
for real, for real. But speaking of really good games, Star Wars Republic Commando, the game from my childhood, the remake is coming out. It's going to come out on April 6th. If you've never played this game, it's super cool. You're following this troop of Republic clones, and I don't want to. I feel like I can't tell you the story without spoiling it.
Yeah,
But it's such a super cool remake that's coming out. It's more or less a light graphical remake, I would say, but it's going to be a Switch and PlayStation exclusive. So if you're really into the clone troopers, clones, anything like that, go check this out. It is super cool.
yeah. Literally, if you like any clones from the Clone Wars, it's like some of the clones are actually in Clone Wars from that. So
Yeah, for real.
for that very small bit, but yeah. And then after that, yeah. Nope, that's it. Right? Not insane.
Yeah. Hold on.
Also, I saw a great meme that was like the Bad Batch are actually just the Star Wars versions of the penguins from Madagascar.
Oh my god, that's great. Side note, we watched the newer movie pretty recently, and I was like, what have they done to my boys? I love that. I love that show, that movie too. All right,
So
Charlie,
funny.
let's actually talk about what we are here to talk about.
Yeah,
Let's talk
that
about
might
Star
be our
Wars and
quickest
sequels.
news yet because we didn't have
Yeah, no,
anything weird to complain about.
No, just cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so time for what did I title this? The Ethan is a super opinionated person, so take it with a grain of salt. Disclaimer.
I'll try to play
So-
devil's advocate if I can. He makes it really hard
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not gonna get at that. So having absorbed so much Star Wars content, I already believe there was a perfect follow-up to the events of the original trilogy called Star Wars: The Legacy of the Force. This is gonna seem super nerdy, but I don't really consider the sequel movies to be part of like my perfect canon, like how Star Wars flows in my mind.
Nerd.
So authors Aaron Alston, Karen Travis, and Troy Denning, they made a wonderful follow-up, which had so much depth, so much meaning, and frankly, just more badass scenes. Which I mean, there's some cool scenes in the sequel trilogies, but like these are some badass books. Then they're just so much more badass than their canon counterparts. It all takes place 40 years after the Battle of Yavin, so the book series not only follows the Jedi children of Han, Leia, and Luke, but it follows the lives of Han, Leia, and Luke as well. So it's pretty cool. It's a 9-part series. It's wonderful characters. It just provides a lot of like really compelling emotion that just kicks you in the gut sometimes in a good way. Really like emotionally grabs you. To me, honestly, what the book series was the Star Wars universe's version of post 9/11 commentary. And in my opinion, this is where they basically blatantly stole. I can't say stole because it is Disney content once they bought it, right? But Kylo Ren is Jason Solo, who's the main character of this series. And here's the thing about inspirations to me. The Inspirer is often much cooler, much more interesting than the Inspired. So I'm just saying, you're gonna hear me say a lot of stuff today. I do really like the movies, but if you like Star Wars, you're interested in reading something like this, even if it's not canon, read what the true canon should have been. Star Wars Legacy of the Force. Start with the Betrayal novel. It's the first one. So
You nerd. You large nerd.
you gigantic nerd. Yeah, I will accept that. I will accept that today.
It's okay. We have a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, no, there's no hiding it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with the good. Do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you can go for it.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm gonna be not fair. I'm not gonna be like super negative, like shit on this. Be like, this shit never made it. But it did leave me with a sour taste in my mouth, and I think part of that is the Rise of Skywalker. I really do think they did some really cool things. And don't get me wrong, the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi, super cool movies. They're very enjoyable to watch, but man, the thing that is pretty good all the way through, like you will not hear me complain about. Oh, dude, the fight choreography, the fight effects, the visual effects. It's so cool. There's just such great. I don't know where this. There's such beautiful, tense action scenes, which you would expect out of such a high octane movie.
Yeah.
Like The Force Awakens, like The Last Jedi. The Rise of Skywalker, there is some really cool fight scenes, but I think they're not as tense and set up like what we get in those first two movies. But
and also, this is like a really nitpicky thing, which is not to like. I think it's really good with the first two movies, but I felt like by the third movie, the fights didn't escalate. It didn't feel like any of them were really any better.
Yeah, and that's
fighting.
That was the thing is, and maybe that's where it's coming from. Is we got The Last Jedi, man. We're starting hot. This full force. It's so cool. We've got such badass. I mean, when Finn holds that lightsaber, oh, I'm gonna talk about that in a couple minutes. But man, that got me. That was so cool, and he was just badass fighting. I mean, one of the things is, I believe the best lightsaber combat. Excuse my phone. I thought I had that muted. The best lightsaber. I just got an update that you were going live. That's what happened.
That's so delayed.
I know. It's the particle spray that really makes these fight scenes so cool, because when they strike each other, there's energy glancing off and light. And they actually use the light sources in the editing to kind of have shadows cascading off of people's faces. And the Force Awakens, the major fight is in the middle of the night, so they're fighting and there's all this amazing lighting coming off of it. Dude, just Kylo Ren, all his fight choreography is so brutal. He is just, that was the only way to make a character, because they're pretty much looking at how do we make Darth Vader when no one can top Darth Vader, and they just went full force on that. It's like, okay, we're just gonna make a knockoff Vader. But although he's kind of stupid in some ways, I really like Kylo Ren. Don't get me wrong, I love Kylo Ren. Actually, I'm not even gonna hate. He is such a brutal villain. When it comes to combat, so blunt force, it's so cool.
Also, I just really like the crossguard on the lightsabers. It's really cool. I like that everyone kind of knows about the story with Kylo Ren having a cracked crystal, even though they don't even really mention it in the movies. But you can literally see how it affects the lightsaber, like the visualization and the attention to detail for the lightsaber specifically is very good. And I felt like this series, this trilogy, did a better job of playing with lightsabers in different environments, and just the way visually, I think it did a better job than the prequels do. Because the prequels, it's oh, this is Naboo, we're just using lightsabers. The original trilogy is you only get that. I don't. You get the scenes in both 5 and 6 where they try to do it with like the darker backgrounds and the lighter colors of the lightsabers. But the prequels never were like, hey, what if we had lightsabers in the snow? Like what? Like, and you can see like the steam coming off of it.
I know.
Like,
It's so cool. Or like what happens when you strike a tree and there's
right.
that char going off. It just felt it made lightsabers feel so much more brutal, especially when he gets that sorry, this is not really a spoiler, but it's where we get Ben Swallow the meme from. When he gets struck across the chest, like he's actually bleeding, and that scene where he's pounding against his armor to let
Yeah.
the blood fall out. Oh, I was like, what the that was crazy.
Easy. Yeah.
It was badass. I mean, if there's one thing I'm gonna give the sequels, they're pretty badass. So visually, they're very appealing. There's a lot of really cool. Even the CGI looks good. Other
Yeah.
than the sea cows that Luke milks, that was disturbing. Didn't need to see that. That's called nightmare fuel. Thanks, Disney. Oh,
I
man.
just like how it's still the blue milk.
It's still blue milk. Yeah.
And he's just like he drinks it and just wipes his face and walks away.
I remember just wanted to curl up and die after that. Oh man.
Oh Lord.
Another point I have is Betrayal. I mean, the acting in this movie. I know a lot of people shit on the actors unnecessarily. I mean, Kelly Marie Tran just got her first big role after that. What Star Wars fans did to her, had to delete her on Twitter. Not cool. Not
Right.
cool at all. Actually, I really liked Rose. Not necessarily the character, but I liked the portrayal and I understood what it was trying to doing. Like I appreciated it. Appreciate it was the right word I want to use.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is going to seem kind of negative how I'm going to explain why I like this so much, but because honestly, later it's gonna be a little negative. But without the performances of these wonderful actors and actresses, this trilogy would probably be horrid, other than the visual effects.
Yeah.
The more you think about characters like Kylo Ren, Rey, Rose, yeah, those are probably the best ones. Oh, Snoke. And you think about these characters on paper, the more confused you might get as you start to think about the series.
Yeah.
These characters have really strange motivations, don't really have flaws where they should have flaws, have some really unbelievable actions at many times. And really what saves some of this is the actors just selling you through their
Yeah.
emotions, through visual expression. I mean, Kylo Ren, the way his fight is choreographed, the way he portrays himself, the anger across his face when he takes his mask off, very believable, very interesting. Yeah, Kylo Ren is 29, and at the start of the series, I mean, he's 29 at the start of the series, right? And he has some pretty teenage edgelord motivations, but Adam Driver sells that emotion.
Yeah.
You feel like this guy is pretty messed up and kind of scary.
Yeah.
And that's not it's not the actors and actresses' fault that they're written
Yeah.
to not have believable flaws, to not have a believable background, to not have believable motivations.
Right. And I think like I like how he's different than Anakin or Vader, where he is almost like at a child level amount of rage, just like a furious amount of anger of like Vader is like everything Vader does, like he's blunt force trauma, but it looks like there's just nothing you can do to stop him, and he's just kind of a slow moving force.
He's just robotic.
Yeah, that's like.
And with
No, go ahead.
With Anakin, like you were kind of saying, that was the last time we really saw a character in terms of chronology that was this angry and this brutal. But even, I mean, I'm no hate against Hayden Christensen, but Adam Driver does a much better job portraying that anger. Whereas, actually, I would say Kylo Ren is a little more just brutal anger, where Anakin was all about desperation.
Yeah, like
So,
it's because it's like Kylo Ren also has like the thing where he feels like he's trying to prove himself that he's bad. Like he kind of portrays himself that he's having to prove himself that he is actually a dark side person. Like
he's all about conflict, right?
Yeah, and then he also like I like how progressively he uses like more dark side powers throughout. Like the first scene we get of Kylo Ren is one of the most badass introductions for any character, where he just freezes the bolt.
Yeah, dude, I remember seeing that in theaters. We were probably like what, 16? I don't
Yeah,
remember how long ago that was. And
we
he
were. It was
just
before that, I think. But yeah,
just raiding a town. I wouldn't say it came out in 2015. They're raiding a town, going through this. There's all this tense, like trying to get away from this blunt force group, and then holy shit! All of a sudden, this guy comes in and just stops a bolt, killing people left, or orders their death. Like this was at that moment, I was not questioning that this was going to be the next Darth Vader.
yeah,
And the way they initially made him and he was portrayed, oh yeah, I was like, okay, I get where they're going now
yeah,
because this is scary. This is a scary dude. Now, granted, I don't think they continued that tone throughout the rest of the series, but that was a great opening, and I will give
yeah,
not the Last Jedi, the Force Awakens, so much props for that.
yeah,
The opening was so hot. They just went off running. It was
yeah.
so great.
There's actually, this is a little off topic, but still about the movies. But the one thing that did bother me as I watched through them was it felt like the first movie when you watch it, nobody really knew what happened between Vader and Luke on the Death Star. Like people didn't really know. They're like, "Oh, the Emperor is dead." That was kind of the only thing they got across because they're like, "He was in there, and now that it's exploded, he must be dead." But like as it goes on, like I forget which characters mention it, but they like talk about uh or like Ray knows about about what Luke did. I'm like, how the heck does she even know that?
But no other characters. Yeah, that is a weird thing also
Like
because
it would make sense if Leia said something, but like because she would
I don't
know.
know. Because for me, it's like the whole Luke versus Kylo thing is a little strange because he's like, no, my father died a good. Like, why are you trying to be my dad? My dad died in the light,
Yeah,
and you need to realize that this is who he was, and he was taken over by the same rage. And I just feel that is a good point. Like, they never really tried to help Kylo
yeah. By the
deal
way,
with
your
all this
cam's
emotion.
frozen.
Really, it's
Yeah,
not in
just
Discord.
no. Now you're back.
I was gonna say I can just turn it off and on.
There you go. Anyways, but yeah, that was like the really weird thing because I was like keeping track of stuff. Like when you watch them all in succession, I'm like, why did no one ever talk about this ever before? Or like, because that was my impression when we were going to the next movie. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a good point. This is my last point for good, and then you can add on whatever. I do think one of the things they were able to capture really well in the sequels was kind of the symbols of hope
yes,
that are kind of seen throughout Star Wars. There's a lot of symbols,
the kid with the
and it
broom.
really speaks to what Star Wars is about. And that's exactly what I was going to talk about. Even when things are really tough, Star Wars has always been about a hero rising to the occasion from the most unlikely place. Now, granted, that place is for some fucking reason usually Tatooine, so I guess it's not that
Or
unusual
Jakku
of a
now,
place.
but you know
Or
whatever.
Jakku, same. It looks exactly the same. They're gonna come from the desert.
What
It's
kind of
very
desert is it? Is it like tall sand desert or is it dry sand desert? There are two variations.
it's all pretty biblical. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyways, but one of the scenes that I find digs into my heart the most and makes me really feel like I just felt like this was quintessential Star Wars. Was like you're saying with the stable boy from The Last Jedi. It shows a nobody child who is named Tamiri Blag, by the way. Um, he's a nobody child who assists the Resistance when they come to his planet. They help Finn and Rose get out. They help them and they release all the animals. Right. He shares stories of the Resistance with his other children, and they're talking about this. And he literally is playing with a little doll that looks like Luke
Luke.
fighting off Kylo and all the I don't remember what the machines were called, but all their siege weapons. And he's force sensitive. He grabs the broom and he's staring. The last scene we get of him is he grabs this broom and he stares up into the stars. And as Charlie and I have talked about before, staring off into the sunset and staring off into the stars is always what they do in the beginning of these movies, and it's literally what Ray does.
Yeah. It
The
always
Last Jedi,
foreshadows adventure and like any sense of
yeah,
hope, leaving,
it's the
change.
expanse of the galaxy that you can go into this. And although it was never explored, and I hope in the future they take this character and put it in the comics, because even though it seems small, that's kind of the point. I just remember the feeling of wonder when he
Yeah.
grabbed that broom, when he first force pulled that broom. It's just like the world of Star Wars got a little bit bigger that day, and the possibilities a little more great.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like many things, as it aged, it became a little interesting because basically this kid represented everything Rey was supposed to be from the beginning. A nobody who became somebody not by her background, but by her merit and by her skill.
Yeah.
And that was granted, that's only representative of the very last movie, which was a blindside audible change.
Yeah.
So Charlie, you got anything else that you want to talk about that you would consider really good?
We touched on it earlier, but well, one random thing I really want to talk about is the Holdo maneuver, because that's one of my favorite movies in that or favorite like moments in that trilogy. And it's funny because I remember watching it in the theater for the first time, and I guess the thing that I would say like kind of captured like the wonder of that moment of like what happened was I remember like because like in that part of the movie that it goes dead silent, and all I remember hearing in the theater was like this one little kid go, "Whoa." That was like that is exactly how I feel though. Like
yeah. That's a really good scene to talk about because The Last Jedi is one of the most controversial movies.
Yeah, I think it gets way too much hate.
I do too. I honestly, well, I think now it is agreed that the Rise of Skywalker is worse, which is unfortunate to say. But the Light of Jedi, oh my gosh, it's all blended together. The Last Jedi, there was a lot of moments that people actually it was all basically centered around female characters. So Holdo, people hated her. Rose, people hated her, but they were really cool characters when you stop to think about it. And the Holdo maneuver, so badass. It's a thing of sacrifice, um, and there was a lot of "May the Force be with you" moments in that movie, but that was the one that felt the most genuine, where she's like, "No, no, no, you might not like me, but I'm doing what's going to keep us alive."
Yeah,
and that was kind of cool to see that disconnect from
yeah.
Poe, who's a hero, and Holdo, who is a soldier. I mean, she's not portrayed as such, but
yeah, she's an admiral. Like
she's an admiral. She's admiral. She's an admiral. She sacrifices herself. She's genuinely
going down with the
like
ship too at that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's a cool scene.
Yeah. And I also think that's like part of what redeems that character. Because I think the thing that actually makes you dislike that character is that she won't tell Poe anything. like she's kind of like just not telling people what their plan is. And there's almost no reason for it. But
yeah, I agree with that.
Also the fact that we just didn't recognize that Admiral Akbar died, but we're talking about that.
That was so sad.
I was like, why? We love that boy. But one other really good thing I'm going to talk about in the movies is the dialogue. It's a lot more natural. It's a lot better than the prequels. I think the easiest way it feels much more grounded in the sense like people just like talk fast and have like real conversations, and like that's actually one of the things in like episode 9 I really like is the beginning of that movie. Is like Rey's like they get back and they're like, "What did you do to the Falcon?" He's like, "What'd you do to BB-8?" And they just start yelling at each other. Like that's like
I mean, the dialogue in the first two, I actually get it a lot. Like I do enjoy the dialogue. I do think my issues with the Rise of Skywalker comes a lot to like they didn't have enough time to figure out what this was supposed to be and what they wanted to do in that movie. They needed 2 movies previous to see that, and it's just a disconnect. So like they had to do a lot really quickly, and it felt rushed for me at times. Like when they're going to get the dagger, it's a lot of really fast-paced dialogue between fast-paced action, and you're just kind of left like, okay, slow down. I need to figure out what's going on.
Right.
But for the most part, I definitely agree. This has the best dialogue as a sequel than the other two, for sure. Now, I don't think it's the best dialogue in any Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I would almost certainly give that to
I think
Rogue One.
Okay, yeah, Rogue One's really good. I was gonna say Empire feels it equally like as good. It's like snappy, it's witty, it's rom-com-esque between Han and Leia for a large portion of the film. and
Yeah,
then
it
it's
has a
kind
lot
of
of
like,
different notes. It's very introspective. It's got this rom-com notes. It hits a lot of the things where Star Wars is such a broad movie. It
right,
just blends a lot of genres.
exactly, like because I like, and not to talk about how much I love Empire, but I like how that contrast of like their smarmy back and forth of what's going on with the crew on the Falcon, and it's just like Luke on Dagobah, like trying to learn things he doesn't even understand. Like
Yeah.
just like the back and forth of like, hey, you're an idiot. Basically, Yoda's like low key kind of telling him, and then they're bickering. It like really rounds out like just the dialogue and the and goes well with the action in between scenes.
Right.
But
That's a good point.
yeah. And then
I'm ready to move on the bad if you were.
the bad, the bad. All right, yeah, we can do the bad.
No, you got one more good. I'm perfectly fine.
No, I lost track of what it was. So don't worry. It was more about dialogue, and it was like one last point I forgot.
Well, the dialogue's good. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
So this is might be nitpicky. It's not really. I don't think it'll be nitpicky. This is like a very broad thing. I really think the Nazi analogy, like the Nazi allegory in Star Wars, is really overused at this point.
Yeah, it came off
one of my
way
biggest complaints.
a little strong.
Yeah, I mean the first and the last order, I'm like, okay, so you're just making the Third Reich. And
Yeah.
generally, if you listen, like there is the interviews with J.J. Abrams, they asked him what his inspirations were for the first and last order, or I think it was originally the first order. When they asked him this, and he literally said, "Oh, I was like, can you imagine if the Nazis went off to Venezuela and were able to rebuild? That's what I thought about with this."
Yeah.
And as cool as that is, and that's a very interesting image, it's been done before.
Yeah,
And this goes back to what. Sorry, Charlie. No, you're good.
like the fact that they're still stormtroopers, it just felt very derivative, and that was like my biggest complaint.
Exactly.
It was
just
like,
move on. Like, give us something new.
yeah, and it's like the guy that was basically would have been in Hux, who would have been in like Tarkin's place or whatever, or like not exactly, but they kind of interact the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
Because they're like they both go directly to Palpatine, Snoke, whatever. Like,
yeah.
But like Hux is like, how the hell did that guy even get into that position? Because he seems like he's not equipped at almost all times. Nobody takes him seriously. Like
He just throws tantrums.
Yeah, like like when you learn about like Tarkin as a character, it's like he literally sounds like he speaks English better than everyone, and then like all the backstory they've given him is like absurd and shows why he got where he was.
Better than you. He's faster than you. He's stronger than you.
He's smarter.
Hux is lame. Kylo is lame. I like Kylo, but as in terms of like the Nazi tactician in this area, like he just was a bad Darth Vader in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the thing is I wish they would move on from the Nazi analogy because I think there's a lot more interesting things you could say about today. You know, some of the most pressing issues are like surveillance, and we live in a post 9/11 world. We still live with a lot of the same pressures we did before. So the 9/11 commentary that was really capturing the legacy of the Force series is much more poignant than the Nazi analogy. And I really wish we'd have something like that because making another Nazi group like the Empire doesn't work as well anymore. Nazis are bad. We know.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks. If you haven't figured that out yet.
And it's not like we didn't have, space Nazis before.
Yeah. We had space Nazis. We had 3 space Nazi movies.
We've had plenty of them. We even had space Nazi spinoffs. Twice. We even have a whole show where they talk about going against space Nazis called Rebels.
Yeah. You just basically, we made another off-brand Empire who's another off-brand Nazis, except it's a little bit dystopian. And you really can't play around with the Nazi motivation without addressing like the most depressing things from the Third Reich, like genocide.
Yeah.
So like it's just a little weird to do, we're gonna make another authoritarian regime. Great. That's not the problems that are interesting. Let's talk about security and surveillance and stuff like that. Which, if you say, "Oh, that's not what Star Wars is about," go read Betrayal, and then let me know what you say. Then you can come back to me. And we'll talk about that.
Opinionated Ethan has entered the chat.
Yeah. Well, hey, been here.
Yeah.
This is a controversial one, and I don't know. I put it in bad, but it's still kind of good. I really like Snoke. I think he was a really interesting villain. He had strong powers. He had this crazy mind reading ability, which was like, oh my gosh, how can these characters even act? Uh, like what will they be able to do for themselves? He knows what they're thinking. He could meld minds. Like that was so cool. And when I
Yeah.
first watched it, I was skeptical. I was like, where did he come from? But you know what? I didn't care. I didn't care by the second movie. I enjoyed having him on screen,
Yeah.
but they killed him halfway through the series and said he was just a failed clone of Palpatine, and it really ruined that for me. And that's one of the reasons I don't like Rise of Skywalker the most. Um, is because it not only affects itself, but it affects other movies that I thought were really good, and I really enjoyed Snoke.
Yeah.
But they just made him pretty lame, and that's kind of an issue. Is
I
ruining
feel,
your shooting yourself in the foot, right?
yeah. Like my biggest issue, and it is straight up bad. I feel like Rise of Skywalker just takes away from Return of the Jedi. It makes Vader's death seem meaningless.
Yup.
Like his personal sacrifice. It makes like Luke's accomplishments like seem lesser for some reason.
I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Don't you worry, Charlie. We
Yeah.
still have our ugly.
Like it's
I
still
know.
like I just think it, and like I don't I'm in a different boat where I don't think Luke was like ruined as a character, but I like what I just hate is that it's like literally like what is like the biggest moment galactically is literally changed for like, oh, this character came back for a week in the universe.
Yup.
Like that's another issue I have with the movies is that they take place way too soon, and you can tell by the way that the Awakens ends that it wasn't meant to be like that, because Snoke is like, I'm disappointed in you. He's like, I will teach you power or whatever. You need to finish your training because you got beat by a girl that's never even held a lightsaber before. And then it's like, oh, what happens? Oh, we're right behind them. We're gonna go invade them right now. We're just forget that line.
Yeah, I do agree. I wish there was a lot more spacing, and we talked about this before. It's just the general pacing of these movies, and that was something that was so interesting about the original trilogy. Is okay, we've had our attack, we blew up the Death Star. Um, we've had our attack, we do this, and we come back, and we're at the end of Return of the Jedi. Oh well, now we've got a second Death Star. Now I'm stronger as a Jedi. We've all grown as characters, and you get to relearn the characters and what they've done in the meantime. And I think with Star Wars tackling so many broad genres, you do need to have that more episodic feel
Yeah,
because they're called episodes, not movies, where you have space in between. I mean, you've ever watched a TV show and then it's perfectly in line? Like, usually there's a little bit of gaps and they leave out the stuff that's not that important, or they write it in a way so it feels organic, but you don't need to see
yeah.
the parts that aren't there. Like,
Shows will give you either every bit of detail or leave stuff for you to learn or think about, or like we know, like for example, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, even though we get like a very consistent like week to week sort of feel, there are just kind of gaps. It's like we don't know every single place they stop for food because it's not that important to the story, but there's still world building stuff going on that like shows you, and like
yeah, but they do stop for food. We just
yeah,
don't need to see it. That's the thing, is they're not going from place A to place B. Like, can you imagine how stressed out you'd be if you're going in, like, this takes in place in like weeks. You're
yeah,
just like bam, 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 just running all over the place.
yeah,
But yeah,
like it's absurd. Like that's my biggest issue. As much as I like The Last Jedi, actually, is like the fact that they take place together so close is an issue.
yeah, I'm with you. I know you just mentioned this, and I'm not of the opinion that he's ruined, but I don't like what they did to his character, Luke Skywalker. I mean, it did feel like in many ways a waste of to me, what was the coolest character in Star Wars. He's edgy, he's broody now. Awesome.
Yeah,
Didn't really need that. Didn't need him to be a loner. They didn't really explain why he felt the emotions he had. They just kind of kept feeding us but here's what happened before. This is why you should know this. And I was like, that doesn't change how I felt when I watched the last movie. That doesn't change how I feel now because you've only given me a 2-minute
yeah,
clip. It's like, oh, well, he tried to kill him and then he feels bad about himself. Like, yeah, I didn't know that before. He hasn't made any effort to change. Like, the world is a bad place because of this. It felt like they weren't thinking about the implications of what they were writing with Luke specifically.
yeah. And like, how do I put this? Like, you just constantly get, oh, it's like, oh, the one bad time for losing it, like losing everything, like Kylo burns down and kills all the kids and stuff. And I'm like, you're also Luke Skywalker. Could you not like save some of the kids,
Nope.
like at all?
Nope.
Like,
Fuck the kids.
literally, it's like the Bernie Mac gif.
Yeah. Fuck the kids.
Fuck them kids.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add to the bad before we move on to the ugly?
No, I just think it's like general pacing and plot issues that
I'm
plague
with you,
it.
100%.
Like, I don't think they're inherently bad movies. Like, they're not bad movies to watch. They're just like, it feels like there's just no impact. I think that's the worst thing about them.
Yeah, it's so fast. The plot is convoluted, and then if you think about the impact, it's like, great. What is the end point of all of this?
Yeah, it's
The
like
Emperor's
literally
killed
blowing up
again.
planets
Great.
constantly.
Blowing up planets again. You've got planet killers. You've got, and they can do it from range. Ooh, that's how you made it more threatening. It's still a planet killer. And I mean, that's the thing is like you can make things cooler, but you have to have them have more emotion.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they
if
should have
wanted
even
to go-
blown it up like the Death Star. I think it would have been cooler or more interesting if they were like, I don't know, like planetary bombardments. So that you know how like there's like the thing with like glassing planets. So where they basically like orbital bombard it until it's like just glass. I think if you were able to do something like that and let the like
Oh yeah, like what they talked about in Rogue One, where like the beaches literally turned to glass because they were just bombing these planets.
yeah, and like N happens on Mandalore and like
yeah.
the area of space. I'm like, that would be way more interesting just for the future. It's like you kind of just blew up random planets for no good reason. And all we know about these planets is that they're supposed to be important.
Yeah, it wasn't like Alderaan where it's like, oh yeah, we blew this planet up that you're from, and you just look at her and you see all the emotion in Leia's face, and you feel that. Whereas this, it's just like, great, we blew up some planets that we don't know the names of. We don't know who lives there. We got some brief shots of people before.
The most you get is like if you watch Star Wars Resistance and you know that it's like Kaz's home planet is like the capital and it's the one that gets blown up.
Right.
And it's like, he's like, well, my dad's dead. But then it's like, the second season literally takes place during like the second movie up until the end. And it's all like, it's only 2 seasons of a show for like a whole era or what's supposed to be an era. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the ugly so I can complain some more.
Kylo Ren, you said.
Yeah.
I already complained about blowing up planets, so there's mine.
Yeah, that's a good one. Kylo Ren, like I said, I actually consider him a really cool villain. I find many of his actions really cool. He has some really cool dialogue. He has some really cool action. But when I think about the motivations of this character, oh, it's so weak. It's so boring. I'm like, I'm angry. No one trusted me. No one liked me enough.
Especially after I killed all those children.
Yeah, why did no one forgive me after I slaughtered the innocent because I was having bad dreams?
Because I woke up with a lightsaber in front of me. So I must kill the children or take some of them, which are apparently no longer Jedi, but whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah, seriously.
That's another issue. Or like, they're not even like Force users when they kills them all. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't think about that until now.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah.
Knights of Ren, weird shit. That's what we did.
It was so almost cool. Got a cool fight scene, but it was like, it's not what it's supposed to be.
He's got like a battle axe. I couldn't remember. I was trying to think of all the weapons.
Yeah.
That they were using.
Vibro axes and stuff.
They were using vibro axes, and I was like, that's cool, man.
But they were just entirely absent in the second movie, which is like the biggest, like, you could have at least built them up.
The moment for them. And they were so cool because they had all these vibro weapons. They were very barbaric. And at this point, like, that is what they wanted. They wanted to show this is how far he's grown, that he's going to kill his past. Because that was very, it was very in line with that line he gave, but he was giving it from a dark side perspective, but it works for the light where he's saying, hey, you have to move, get past, what is that one? Kill your past.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Let me look it up. Kill your, yeah, it's like kill it if you must. Let the past die, kill it if you had to. That's the only way to become what you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And that is actually a really good line when you think about him killing the Knights of Ren. but they should have been in the second movie if that was going to happen.
Yeah. Also, the fact that they're supposed to be Force adept and there's just like no indication of that.
Yeah, he just kicks their ass. Not even with force. He just
Like
he's a
gun
better
and
swordsman.
lightsaber. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. This is going to be a controversial one. I wish Rey had more flaws. She
Yeah,
really
I
doesn't
agree.
have
I
any.
think that's the best critique. I think because a lot of people complain about the character, and that's I think the one you bring up the most, and I
Yeah,
think
and
it's the best one. Like,
Rey is such an interesting character. What Rey was supposed to be, this nobody character who was abandoned by her parents, who were originally going to be just gamblers who dropped her off. And it's like, ooh, is she someone? No, that's not what's important. What's important is what she's going to do. What's
yeah,
important is how she acts. She is adept with the Force, sure, but that's because she's a being of light and she's had hope and she's lived with this hope for all her life.
right.
But a character like that, man, we've she just instantly gets in the Falcon and flies it. She's instantly good at everything she does. She has natural talent at everything. She has a wide
Yeah,
variety of skills. She knows almost
like
everything.
I think
I
some of
really
the things do make sense, right? We're
yeah.
like I think like the thing that I think makes the most sense is that she's also mechanically minded.
Oh yeah, which makes
Like
it she's a scrapper. She understands how robots work. She understands how
exactly.
big ships work, and I got that. And like I said, I really enjoyed her as a character and found having a woman as an action lead really refreshing, especially in Star Wars, because we have such a history of strong women, but they're never not usually at the forefront other than like Rogue One.
Yeah.
But they never gave Rey a chance to grow organically. And maybe that's part of it, Charlie. Like we're talking about is spread the era out. It didn't need to take place so quickly. Give her time to grow and
Yeah.
question herself.
Because like
And
there's only like a few comics that it's like the new crew of the Millennium Falcons even together. Like
yeah.
you almost never see where it's just like it's Rey, Finn, Poe. It just feels like they're all existing at the same time, but they're not always together.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't always need to be together, but like I think that's the one thing that Rise of Skywalker does the best. Or
There is a sense of unity. Like we're all fighting against this one force, and where in the
Yeah.
first two it was a little fragmented, which actually I get why it was fragmented.
yeah,
But that's an interesting point. But really, at the end of the day, I feel like it just wasted, like I said before, Daisy Ridley's acting chops. I mean, when we think of strong women characters, I can't help but think of in Star Wars, Leia, Padme, Ashoka,
Ashoka.
countless other
Okay.
Ahsoka, countless other Jedi. I mean, it's so cool. Bastila, if you're into the Knights of the Republic, putting Rey side by side with Leia, General Organa, left me wanting more from her. I mean, I wanted her to
Yeah.
be a symbol.
And I
I
like
wanted, I,
I
I
just
wanted her
want
to be a
more for those
symbol.
characters.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I wanted her to be
Oh.
a symbol for our generation, future generations. In many ways, like my mom talks about how Leia was for her.
Right.
It's a cool, badass character who was really smart, but she has some flaws. What is that? She's really, she's really passionate and she really gets heated, but that was part of her charm, right? And Rey was just kind of good at everything, kind of nice to everyone. She wasn't really naive. She wasn't really anything. And I just
Yeah,
wish they
she
would
just
give her more
seemed
of that
constantly smart, knew what she was doing. Like
and I
she
wanted
just
her to have some complexity.
Yeah.
But that's because I think I wanted to be able to understand her a little more, because she was such a cool character, and I just wanted more
Yeah.
of her. Um, kind of in a skipping past characters for a second, I want to talk about this. The First Order and the Final Order. First of all, what awful names!
Yeah, like
Oh my gosh,
I will
just bad
say the
naming.
Final Order is a better name than the First Order.
First Order, I agree. I mean, it was just very much like, hey, we're trying to go for the Third Reich
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I mean, with the Final Order being thrown in the last second, it really undermined the first two movies with the First Order, because they're like, oh, you guys are just the test pilot, right? It
Yeah,
undermined
like
the Skywalker movies.
let alone we
which
don't know where
I
they
know-
still get the resources from, which is like another whole fucking thing.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Uh, it undermined, the what I would call the real Skywalker movies, 1 through 6, and what happens when you. This is really just what happens when you write without thinking about the impact to your content. It really messed up a lot of things. Disney clearly scrambled after they killed Snoke and they were going to make a new movie with a new direction to create a greater threat than him. And they came up with
Yep.
the only villain in Star Wars that is overused, Palpatine.
Yeah.
Decision literally not only nullified the prophecy of the Chosen One, because in canon, according to George Lucas, you could look this up, Anakin is the Chosen One.
Yeah.
And in this, Palpatine has all of the power of all the Sith who died before him.
Which
Meaning
also
there is no balance in the Force, except they explain that by, oh, well, Rey has all the power of the Jedi behind her. What? Is this anime?
Yes, it is. Actually, I still can't wait for a Star Wars anime. But
yeah, good talk. I actually am pretty excited for that. But that'll be cool. And it also just means the Rebels didn't accomplish anything, right? And including the actual Rebels series.
Yeah.
Their struggle to defeat the Empire, the threat of authoritarianism, it was for nothing, just to delay the inevitable.
Yeah.
And I just found that really, really lame.
Also, there's like a lack of loss in these movies. Seems like a really weird thing to say. But like, Kylo never really loses anything. The thing we lose the most is Han, because Kylo kills him. We lose Snoke, but like it doesn't mean anything to anyone.
Oh, I totally forgot about this, but it's gonna make me so mad. I gotta say it right now. Okay. So my girlfriend and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. This is the single most glaring flaw in the
no
entire
limbs lost
series.
for 3 movies.
Okay, also true. No. Han, when he dies, we spend more screen time and more energy in that movie on how Rey feels afterwards.
Yeah, instead of Chewbacca.
Thank you. Leia speaks with Rey first.
Yeah.
They've never really acknowledged, other than a few like side comments like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Chewie," and
hey, you want to get on the ship?
Shoots Kylo.
We need an extra crew member.
I know.
Which I liked that because it paralleled like Luke when he was about to leave.
Yeah, that was cool.
But
it just made me so mad. Like, you've known her for a couple days. Chewie this has been his best friend
for so many years.
Years.
And what's worse about it is that like Rey and Leia hug, and Chewbacca's literally standing in the background into a crowd. Like,
he's just standing there staring at them. Like,
it was like they nailed the emotional response like right when he gets stabbed, and like Chewbacca just roars. Like, I think they nailed that part, but like there's like no sadness afterwards for him. We're just like, oh, Chewbacca's still here.
I mean, he's definitely sad. I mean, I feel like we get that, but we don't. There's no exploration of like, how would you feel if you're lifelong? And I think we talked about this literally last episode. Now,
yeah, we did.
But I just need to get that out because that makes me so bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that kind of goes into my last point about Han and Ben Solo. That relationship was really weird, and I didn't really get it because it was like, "Hey, Dad, I hate you, but I need your help, so I need to kill you. You're dead now. Oh, wait, 2 movies later, your Force Ghost came back and redeems me later."
But he's not actually a Force Ghost or whatever. But
yeah, I didn't understand that part. It was just more like a vision, right?
My understanding was that it was like a mental thing, and it was just him being like a manifestation of him being there when he needed him most through the Force,
which is weird. And then it's like after that, he's like, "Oh, okay, now I get to kiss a girl I tortured, literally, in a symbol of look at everything we have been through." Which, by the way, if you don't believe me, we talked about this last episode. Look it up. That's literally what it's about. It was a kiss to represent the trauma and the understanding of each other's trauma that they have had.
This is so bad.
You killed your own dad. You killed kids.
Hi, I met this nice man like a couple days ago. I found out he was your dad, and then I watched you murder him. Let's kiss.
What a nice young man.
Like, I was watching this movie, like, I don't care what happens in between these movies. After the first movie, it literally makes Kylo irredeemable, to just from her perspective, at least. Like, it pretty much should.
Yeah.
Unless he's like makes better choices, but he really doesn't up until like the very end.
He needed to sacrifice himself, which I get. But how he sacrificed himself, lame.
Yeah. I also we're gonna eventually do our rewrites. What we wanted to do for the next episode. But the one thing I wanted to met, I would have just made Kylo Ren the bigger force. Like, I would have put more time between the movies after that, and I would have just made him like I know you can't criticize a movie for what it's not, and you criticize it for what it is. But when there's an option and you don't need to bring a character back from the dead.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's when you're talking about like a single movie. We're talking, there is themes in Star Wars. And if you look at the original trilogy, it's the focus in terms of the overall theme, plot, whatever. I would say it's not like, oh, we need to defeat Palpatine. It's Luke becoming a Jedi, figure out what that means, figure out who his father is, and saving his father.
Yeah.
And that is the single greatest act of Luke Skywalker, is redeeming, bringing the chosen one. This is a near religious figure in Star Wars.
No, yeah,
And for
literally.
how do they describe him? Not Anakin specifically, but how they describe the chosen one. And he's our canon chosen one, and he is saved by Luke Skywalker. That is the single greatest thing that happened in the entire trilogy. I don't care if you killed Palpatine or Palpatine has all the power of the Sith. It's pretty lame when you think about that.
Yeah. Also, it does. You could have also went the route of it being like an ancient Sith. I think I texted you about this.
Yeah,
but there's no reason why it couldn't be like when the Sith like basically it created the rule of two that there weren't just like separate like groups of Sith. Like you could have easily done that. That's like Snoke could have been one, and then there could have been another that ended up on like Exegol and like had that whole giant ass group. But for some reason, it just has to be Palpatine. We couldn't introduce anything in the older lore or anything more interesting.
Because it's always because of one bad guy, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing I hate about movies. It's really, if we stop this one bad guy, that'll stop everyone else from being bad guys. I'm like, you raised literal Nazis. Yeah, that's the point about the Nazis. Is yes, these guys were these kids, because a lot of these soldiers were teenagers in the Nazi war, but you still have to hold them accountable because they bought into a propaganda that we as a world culture don't want to buy into. But that's a whole nother discussion, because I'm not here to talk about geopolitical politics. So.
We could do another show for that, maybe.
Yeah, we'll do another show, because we're totally unqualified for that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, Charlie, do you have anything to add to the ugly?
No, because we did blowing up planets.
Yeah,
because it's a bad trope. It's not a good trope.
It's not a good trope. It's a terrible trope.
It's like, let's just hurt like what we could possibly do in the world, but also have it make no impact.
Yeah, you literally provided no basis for me to care about these planets. Now, granted, I'm like, wow, that's messed up. We're killing thousands of people. This is genocide, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
genocide in like a 2-minute scene.
It represents no ideology. It's very like, wow, that's horrible. Not like I'm about to cry. Like, this is devastating. Like, it just lacks the emotion it needed, the baseline to establish emotion.
Yeah. And then they were like, let's make every ship a planet killer too.
Oh my god, so stupid.
I was like, there's no point. It's already like the biggest fleet literally ever in Star Wars.
And I think, Charlie, that because we've complained about it so much, this is probably that point.
Oh wait, I also need to do my
downright messed up.
Oh, I need to do my other one. Just when I was watching it, I'm like, all right, so they need like a navigator or like a signal to send to get the entire fleet complicatedly out of Exegol. Yet all those other ships show up there perfectly fine through like another signal, and then all of these ships, are planet killers, but nobody fires a single one of them, even just like to like just destroy the ships in front of them.
Yeah, one of the
or just destroy the planet and be like, what the hell is happening, to cause chaos.
For real.
No one did that, because it's like they're like almost they're literally like genocidal. Like there's no reason for these characters to care about what's left, because they're having ships that can destroy every planet. Like I'm like, there's no reason to like, why is anything here?
It's frustrating. I mean, one of the biggest credences in writing is, if you're gonna put a gun in a scene, use it. And there's their gun, there's their weapon, there's their tension. Never used.
Yeah, it's literally like, oh, there's just overwhelming forces until Palpatine dies. And then
It's just filler content.
yeah,
So I have some stuff that I don't even think is deserving of the ugly title.
the
And this
downright
is
messed up.
the downright messed up. This is stuff that causes me emotional pain. I and I I would never do this for any other movie, even if I thought it was terrible. The problem here is I love Star Wars, and
We just want it to be better. We care. That's why we
That's what it
criticize.
is. That's really what it is. And I was really disappointed in a lot of things Disney did because they would. This is Disney stuff. This is corporate stuff. This is not like I hate these writers. I hate what was going on. This is literally corporate stuff. So let me get into it. First of all, Betrayal of Diversity in Star Wars. I know this show is two white guys talking about Star Wars, but I would like to bring up that these movies basically tried to bait woke people into seats at the promise of real gay
Jeremy,
relationships.
what's up, buddy?
You know, real gay relationships, a black Jedi, a female Jedi lead. They literally had ads prior to Rise of Skywalker about gay relationships. In the US, Finn is in all of these trailers, right? But no, we didn't get
As the Jedi, and then
we didn't get.
At least we'll get presumable canon with the characters, but it's like
I know it's like okay, so and Disney does this all the
there's
time.
no reason why they couldn't address it in between. Also, the whole thing with China, but
yeah, that's what I'm gonna get into. Don't worry, Charlie. Don't worry.
I know.
We'll talk about China. You know, we got a gay kiss of these characters, never really explored on screen, which, by the way, was shot the way it was in a very background scene, so they could remove it for Singapore and Dubai. That's what they did. Instead, we got Finn, the single most wasted character in all of Star Wars.
As much as I love him.
Yeah, being put into every scene in such a way that they could remove him for a Chinese audience because they didn't want to see a black lead character. Very interesting. The most okay is probably like Rey, and for children it was like a really inspiring character. I mean, little girls were dressing up as a Jedi for Halloween and no one was questioning them. It was really cool. But you know, I just wish they gave her more complexity. But really my biggest issue is what they did with John Boyega, and I'm gonna get in there because I want to end there. One of the other things very interesting, we've talked about this before, is you remember that Disney tweet where they tweeted about the Last Order on Exegol?
Oh yeah.
I'll read it. Did you know the Sith Eternal Fleet seen in Star Wars, hashtag the Rise of Skywalker, was created by Sith cultists on Exegol who indoctrinated Exegol's population with Sith values and raised and trained their children to become officers, mechanics, and soldiers for the Final Order. No, I didn't fucking know that because you didn't put it in the fucking movie.
Literally. Yo, Jeremy, thanks for the $10.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it so much. Yeah, he's kicking along this fucking.
There's Seinfeld music. There we go.
Is there? That's dope.
Yeah.
I don't even have the stream. I have a stream open.
Hopefully we'll get copyrighted for it. I think we'll be fine.
That'll suck. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. I found that stuff really stupid. I can't tell you. I think they had about 5 different tweets they had to tweet about the Rise of Skywalker. Oh man.
No, yeah, but yeah. Also the ending. You hate that. I actually like that ending.
I don't. Okay, I shouldn't say I hate it. It probably shouldn't have been here. I didn't like I'm Rey Skywalker, but I did appreciate like the nod, like this is what inspired me and this is what I wanted to become.
I like the scene where like it does like the mirroring of like looking off into the distance and like seeing them. I like that. Just why is that woman there? What is?
Yeah, that is the weird part. Who are you?
Yeah, nobody's been here for so long. I'm like, who are you? We're in the middle of the desert. We've established this for like 40 years ago. Who are you?
She walks off, by the way.
Yeah.
I recall.
She's like, okay, whatever.
She's walking through the middle of the desert looking at this house, and then she buries something here. She's like,
who are you?
I'm like, why do you care? You don't live here.
Literally.
This is my property. She could have said that. I mean, you don't know.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, not even remotely.
It's like, also, she wasn't even like riding a dewback or anything that's not normally on Tatooine. Just something we've never seen. She's like walking as a space camel. It's like, why?
An old ass woman just walking with a candle, just like, who are you? I'm going to walk back into the desert and be killed by Tusken Raiders now.
Yeah, probably.
Like, who the fuck are you, dude? Like,
I don't know. He's going to Mos Pelgo. We don't know.
We don't know, man. We don't know. It don't matter. It don't matter.
But yeah.
Are you ready?
I think.
Do you have any other points before my master rant?
What's your master rant?
This is just John Boyega. I just want to talk about that real quick.
Okay, you can rant about our boy John.
I just wanted to reiterate how dirty Disney did John Boyega. I mean, John Boyega did a wonderful job portraying Finn. Finn was a character with truly no past, no name, a true nobody like they really wanted for Rey. I remember when I was 16, dude, seeing this movie in the theater with my mom, and the emotions I felt when Finn held that lightsaber for the first time. You saw he was force sensitive. He was a
Right.
character. He just picked up the symbol of the Jedi, the symbol of hope. And what does that say to a kid? You know, what does that say to anyone watching this movie? It's saying anyone can be a Jedi, anyone can become a hero. It was such a beautiful moment, dude. It was so cool. And here's the problem with that: we never get what that actually mattered for because he never becomes a Jedi.
Yeah, or at least
The rest
not
of the
yet.
series, he's just along for the ride. I mean, in many ways, he was just kind of along so people could feel good, and Finn was kind of fun, but he had no meaning.
Yeah.
He just put into moments that could be removed. His
And then
solo
like
moments were
then they
removed
just
for a
like
Chinese
vaguely
audience.
allude to that he will become a Jedi, or like he's force sensitive. They didn't really show it. I got it when I watched it, but for real. Thanks, Jeremy. But like just the whole thing like just doesn't make sense as to like why they didn't at least explore it.
Oh, I know.
And also
That's
they
so
have
cool.
two lightsabers, and then Kylo just throws his away. It's like, okay. I mean, you just threw away the weapon. Also, I love the memes of like Kylo throwing his lightsaber and like General Grievous comes out of nowhere and like dives in to get it. Have you seen those?
Yeah,
He's like,
I have seen those.
another one for my collection. Actually, I have that on my soundboard.
Oh man, that's so blurst. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Yeah, the character had a lot of problems, like you're saying, and like they're saying, oh, he will be a Jedi, but they just never really given a moment to shine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, his ending is they attach him to another one of the only black characters we ever see in Star Wars, which is an issue. We've got this storm, and she was a stormtrooper before, and
As
they're just
well.
like, oh, they're together, they're together now, and
Vaguely.
they're happy. Vaguely, they don't really explicitly say it, but we can assume they're going to run off in the sunset as a group together because they understand each other, and they say that's a satisfying character arc. No, it's not.
It's not,
Stupid.
no.
A wonderful moment was almost there for Finn too, because he almost got
And then,
that
Yeah.
sacrificial moment, and then Rose sweeps in and steals that for him. And I'm just gonna say it, Disney, if you're gonna create a hero, use him. Finn and Rey are supposed to be a statement. It's supposed to be like they could have literally been anyone, no matter how
Yeah.
small someone is. They could have been a hero, and instead they just literally tossed all the ideals that were in this movie away so they could make more money. So no surprise, thanks Disney.
Now you can buy him wearing a different jacket with a gun holster. And that's why we kept that character alive.
Yeah, we left that character alive so we could sell toys.
Or, eventually make him a Jedi, but never explore it in the movies. Which then, of course, like, the only confirmation we have that he's getting Jedi training is literally, like, the Lego Star Wars Christmas special.
Which, everyone watched, right? I mean, I know personally that I watched the Lego Star Wars.
I actually did watch it, and it's really good, and I think everyone should. But
well, that's because you're a nerd, Charlie. Like
I
you
am a
said
nerd, and I like
show.
Christmas a lot.
That is true. That is your favorite holiday.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, man. So you have anything else to add? Anything positive? Anything negative about the sequels? I mean, I'll reiterate.
No, I got my rant of him not being a Jedi and the fact they just didn't explore it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'll probably tweet about it at some point.
I still think they're good, like decent movies. The first two are. I like the fight choreography. I really enjoyed.
No, yeah, like they're totally good movies. They just feel not impactful to the canon, which is the weirdest thing to say. Yeah, you get a trilogy that feels like yeah, and like it just feels like everything happens in a week, and that's like my biggest gripe with it. Because like the Empire, it's like the galaxy is at a large degree is just being oppressed for several decades. Like that has like some impact of like when they try to actually overthrow like the authoritarian governments, but it like doesn't really change when you just have this first order that comes out of literally nowhere. and it's like, oh yeah, we kidnap children and we just do it solely on random planets we've never really talked about in canon before, and we were not going to explore it.
And then we tried to redeem that character.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I've got my catharsis. I've got all my emotion out that I needed to get out. And it probably didn't help that I watched The Dark Knight last night before I wrote this. So I was like, this movie's imperfect.
Correct.
Just basing it off the best action movie ever made. And I'm just like, look at the Joker. Should have had so much more depth. I'm like, probably not fair to Disney because they're not that
No.
good,
I like the characters. I just wish they would have used them better.
yeah.
Oh, also the one last point I want to make is that the entire Canto Bite scene basically feels like it exists for two reasons, and it's for literally the broom kid, and then it feels like it exists for just to deliver the line of, we're not going to win this war by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we love.
That is a good line. I really do love.
Like, it's a really good line, but like, you didn't need 40 minutes to build up to it exactly. You probably could have written a little bit differently on this. Like, I don't know.
Nor did you need to bait us on Finn like completing his arc and like becoming the most heroic, becoming a symbol.
Right.
And then it's just like, nope, let's give you this petty little line and then bring you.
And
back
then you also get
away.
screwed over, and that was also, oh yeah, also the Captain Phasma scene where she kills all the stormtroopers because Finn calls her out for being a coward.
Yeah, that was cool. Why did they delete that scene, dude?
I don't know. It literally makes the movie so much better for no, like, it doesn't change that much. It's just way cooler. Just makes Phasma cool. But anyways, that's all I got for today.
Me too. I've exhausted myself.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely did. Thanks to Jeremy for stopping by and giving that sweet dono. And yeah, if you want to check out the show, it will be posted probably later tonight, definitely by tomorrow, on all streaming services, so Spotify, Apple, iTunes. It's over on Anchor, a bunch of other streaming services. Oh yeah, Google, which is an important one.
I have one point.
Also,
if
YouTube.
you did enjoy the show, and you can find us on all these platforms, please be sure to share it with someone who might enjoy it. If you did, this is the best way we can help grow our show and just get more feedback so we can make better content and really talk about Star Wars with more people. So
exactly. And we also have merch, which is up on Redbubble. I'll link it in the description below. But yeah, that is everything for this week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.